Hello to all the viewers watching, and welcome to the most balanced Halo game that doesn't exist. My goals with this series is to express my ideas for the weapon tuning of Halo games and to explain my thought processes / reasonings behind specific things with what they could do / what I would do to specific weapons in an effort to raise friendly discussion and to provide 343 with some community input for how they can change Halo to better suit all the demographics it aims to appeal to. I was also not very happy when it came to the balancing of specific weapons in Halo 5, and so we'll be referring to Halo 5 a lot for certain weapons, using the equivalents from it to compare and contrast to what I would, in order to give further context towards my decisions, at least for the early episodes. This is part 1 of 4 in the series about what I've thought up, a series I'm dubbing Assess and Assist. Now, whilst I understand that Halo Infinite will not launch with the Magnum, nothing is stopping them from adding it in the future. Now, you may also be wondering why I'm calling it the M6L Magnum. That is because what I want for the Magnum hasn't really been in a Halo game before, and everything up to M6L was taken within the lore, and thus it is called the M6L. Now, I wouldn't make up some new addition to the lore without backing it up with some sort of design, and so I came up with this. A modern base with a classic touch. It's very chunky and mean, like it would hurt as much to be hit by as shot by. That is no accident. You see, one of my main problems with Halo 5 was its Magnum. It was too powerful and also had a relatively low skill ceiling. It was point, shoot, and is better than your other starting weapon, the assault rifle. I don't think you should be able to spawn with a weapon that can 5-shot you from basically anywhere on the map. In Halo 5, it was too dominant for both being a starting weapon and for just being a pistol. With that being said, here's what I'll do. I'll give it a red reticle range of 32 meters. This is less than Halo 5's Magnum, and so should have it be less dominant at range compared to other precision weapons as to not redundicize them. The second change is to damage, as I'll give the 7-shot kill. 5 shields, 2 headshot, 4 body, or 1 body plus 1 hit. This is to give the more unique style, among other things I'll get to later. Now, the Halo 5 Magnum was basically just a DMR that shot a little faster and had a little less range. Making this a 7-shot kill differentiates the two, making it more obvious what both of their roles are within the sandbox. I've also given it a rate of 5, 265 rounds per minute, which is a little faster than Halo Reach if you're curious. If you don't know what that would sound like, however, here is how. All of these stats combined give the M6L a time to kill of 1.36 seconds headshot and 2.3 seconds body shot. Magazine capacity is 14 rounds, meaning you'll be able to engage multiple targets before having to reload if you hit your shot. The reserve capacity would be 56 rounds, 1 plus 3 mags, and the max capacity 72 rounds, 5 mags. Its accuracy would be very accurate for the first 8 shots, then become much more inaccurate with subsequent shots if fired at max fire rate. Its accuracy would reset after 0.8 seconds of not shooting, and max bloom, with it resetting faster the smaller the reticle is. Draw time 0.15 seconds, reload 1.54 seconds empty and 1.28 seconds tactical. It would have recoil that bumps the crosshair up a bit, but it would reset before the next shot, meaning that it's basically easier for fields. So, what are the points of these changes? Well, they all aim for a common goal, to reserve the Magnum to be a combo / harassment weapon. So, let's say for example, you get into a firefight but your primary runs out of ammo and needs to be reloaded. This gun is there for you to quickly pull out and to deal with the threat that was weakened by your primary, hence the faster draw time. However, it is also there to be used to pepper people from a distance. The red reticle range of the M6L is longer than that of the AR and so is more effective at range. If someone is outside that range but you want to get the jump on them, you get some shots off with the Magnum and then switch to your primary once the enemy tries to close the distance. Its accuracy promotes the accurate placement of shots due to the first 8 shots being substantially more accurate than subsequent shots. It punishes spraying due to this, but also becomes a little more versatile with the capacity to deal with multiple threats if need be, basically compromising to be a mix of the best balanced parts between the H5, HR and H2A Magnums. This weapon will struggle in head-to-head engagements, but can excel if you use it correctly and use it situationally. With the Halo 5 Magnum, there was no thought on when you used it. You basically always switched to it when you spawned, and it was so good that it didn't even allow the AR to become a situational weapon, as the Magnum was basically superior in every situation, and most egregiously, was easy to use with all these advantages. All you needed was half decent aim and you've mastered the weapon. My Magnum nerfs it a bit, but still hasn't maintained a useful position within the sandbox. It has a steep learning curve as you learn its mechanics and how to take advantage of them, but does not end up being useless to newbies or overpowered to veterans in the process. New people can still use it effectively, but if you come across someone who's learned it better than you, then expect to be punished if you try to engage them, as they likely pick to their fight with you, and not the other way around. With all the changes I proposed for the starting Magnum, I can see how some people may dislike it based upon how dissimilar it is to what it is regularly thought as. Due to this, and a neat idea I got, I decided to have not one, but 2 Magnums in this theoretical Halo game I'm balancing. This Magnum is a lot more similar to previous renditions, but also has a specific place within the sandbox. Now, my thought processes with this weapon was that it's a line of pistol that has been taken out of service by the UNSC and replaced by the M6 series of pistol. It's old, bulky, cumbersome, perhaps a bit impractical, but also powerful. Here's how it is balanced. It has a red reticle range of 36 meters, outranging the M6L by 4 meters. It has the damage to 5-shot kill, 4 shield, 1 head, or 3 body. Its fire rate is 140 rounds per minute, which feels a bit like this. All those stats give the TTK of 1.7 seconds headshot or 3 seconds body shot. Its magazine capacity is 8 rounds, its reserve capacity is 24 rounds, 1 plus 2 mags, and its max capacity is 48 rounds, 1 plus 5 mags. With regards to accuracy, it is basically perfect. It has a spread as tight as Halo 5's Magnum does in ADS. The reticle apertures but does not bloom. It would look very similar to this. This pistol, unlike the M6L, has ADS/Smart Link enabled, meaning it can zoom to 2 times magnification, which extends its red reticle range out to 74 meters. Got a draw time of 0.28 seconds, reload 2.2 seconds empty, 2 seconds tactical. Its recoil bumps up quite a bit but resets before the next shot, mainly there for heals. And the damage falls off by 1/5 for every increment its red reticle range is doubled. So at 74 meters, it takes 6 bullets to kill, 2.1 seconds, etc. As I'm sure you can tell, this weapon is meant to be a longer ranged weapon than the M6L. This gun's role in the sandbox is to basically be a poor man's battle rifle. It will harass ARs outside of their red reticle range. It will be easier to use than the M6L, but will get its ass kicked by the BR if the person using it is competent. However, it is not just this role it's supposed to fill, but it should also be the first precision weapons noobs get acquainted to. These are due to the fact that the M5L has a much smaller learning curve than the M6L does, and that since the M5L is a one-shot headshot, it should be much better to use against enemies who are easy to headshot, especially on high difficulties versus the M6L. Due to its high damage than the M6L, it would also be more likely to make enemies flinch, which in turn makes them easier to headshot too. Basically, this weapon is what introduces noobs to precision weapons, is used when the BR is unavailable, and is the weapon of choice against very easily headshotted AI. I've always viewed the SMG in Halo as being a pretty pointless weapon. It always seems to be either the AR, a more forgiving but shittier AR, or a more forgiving yet for some reason superior AR. For this, I opted for the second one, except with a few differences. So, its red reticle range is 18 meters. Bullet magnetism does not taper towards that 18 meter distance. Deals a kill within 29 shots within its red reticle range, 19 shield, 10 body. Has a fire rate of 1,150 rounds per minute, 19 shots per second. Leaving us with a TTK of 1.5 seconds within its red reticle range. Its magazine capacity is 120 rounds, its reserve capacity is 360 rounds, 1 plus 2 mags, and its max capacity is 720 rounds, 1 plus 5 mags. Base accuracy starts at Halo 5 levels, and within 0.6 seconds increases to around 1.2 times the spread of the Halo 3 SMG. Bloom resets in 0.25 seconds. No ADS/smart link, except for in the campaign, or it comes as an attachment. A suppressor would also be an optional attachment for the campaign also. It draws within the time of 0.24 seconds, reloads in 2.66 seconds empty and 2.1 seconds tactical, with recoil that bounces around a bit and also gets progressively bouncier over prolonged fire. The bounce is light, but it's uncontrollable. And the damage drops off by 1/3 for every increment its red reticle range is doubled. So at 36 meters, it takes 38 bullets to kill, 1.95 seconds, etc. This thing seems to be pretty fucking useless, is a thing that you may be thinking right now. And whilst they can't compete with other weapons when competent people are using them, that is the whole point of these changes, to reserve the SMG to be a noob's best friend. This is going to be the first mid-tier weapon noobs are going to pick up. It has no skill ceiling, a brain dead person could use it, but it's especially useless in higher level play. Actually, it is useless in higher level play. And, I mean, to be honest, I never really liked the SMG, but I feel as if it needs to be included, and there is still a niche role it could still fulfill, and thus, it is here. This weapon is the backbone of this game's multiplayer. It is a part of Halo's most iconic weapon series, the MA5 series of assault rifle. Yeah, fuck the BR series of fucking battle rifle, you suck cock. This weapon is what gets shit done. This is the weapon you will be using the most, and is the weapon that will be setting the bar for what a weapon is supposed to compete against in any given situation. Due to this weapon is mighty, and looks mighty too. Its looks alone prepare you for the competition it provides. What competition, are you asking? Well, here's how the cookie crumbles. It's got a red reticle range of 21 meters. Bullet magnetism tapers as the range approaches 21 meters, so you don't get instantly melted within this range. Its damage is enough to dish out a kill within 24 shots at point blank range. It does not have a headshot multiplier. It boasts a fire rate of 600 rounds per minute, 10 shots per second. And with all that said and done, has an ideal TTK of 1.3 seconds. Its magazine capacity is 32 rounds, its reserve capacity is 96 rounds, 1 plus 2 mags, and its max capacity is 352 rounds, 1 plus 10 mags. When it comes to accuracy, listen up kids, here's where it gets important. It starts off at the base accuracy of the Halo Reach AR, but only reaches its max bloom by the last shot, which will have it be more akin to Halo 4's AR bloom once it gets there. Bloom resets after 0.6 seconds at max bloom. The smaller the reticle, the faster it recovers. It in fact lacks ADS/smart link. Got a draw time of 3.8 seconds, reload 2.1 seconds empty, 1.5 seconds tactical. It has minor recoil and climbs to about half reticle height before reload, meaning the longer that you shoot it, the worse the recoil gets. Recovers in 0.12 seconds after shooting. After 21 meters, the AR's damage drops off. At 42 meters, it will take around 2.6 seconds to kill someone, assuming all your shots hit, which they won't, and TTK will keep doubling with distance. So you must be thinking, wow, sure does sound like this AR is overpowered. To which I'd say that you're wrong, at least in a state in which we can't practically test otherwise. Due to how bullet magnetism would taper with distance, this means that the AR would only be able to mount up close. Approaching the 21 meter mark, you're gonna have to start burst firing to remain effective. Now, in Halo 5, the AR was dog shit. 343 tried to make so many contradicting decisions to erase the skill ceiling of it that they ended up making a weapon that was outclassed by everything else. In ideal conditions, you could get a kill within 1.2 seconds with the AR in Halo 5. This was due to its headshot multiplier. 343 did this in an attempt to make the gun require more skill to use, as you would have to hit headshots to remain effective. The only problem is that the Halo 5's AR bloomed out substantially with its first 5 shots, meaning that if you were to try and track someone's head with the AR, half the shots would whiff due to bloom in most circumstances. And so, the solution? Well, just burst fire, right? No, because once you start burst firing, TTK goes completely out the window and into a heaping pile of dog shit due to 2 reasons. Reason 1, the reticle took too long to recover, meaning the intervals between bursts were substantial, and reason 2, it doesn't fucking matter anyway, because all the precision weapons in Halo 5 completely ass-fucked the AR once you either increased the TTK by a nut hair, or went longer than 24 meters away. Or both, in most circumstances. Due to this, unless you either had uncontrollable Tourette's to the point where you have a seizure every time you breathe incorrectly, or you are so mentally slow to the point where it takes you 16.2759 seconds to register a hammer hitting your knee, there is absolutely no reason to use the AR over the Magnum. And even then, if you are either of those two things, you're pretty fucked regardless. Oh, and by the way, did I mention it's absolutely horse shit recoil? For some unfathomable reason, 343 decided to give it the most recoil of any weapon in the game. Because the AR with all of its aforementioned pants shittings was just too fucking good, and so they had to make it go into an 8.3 magnitude earthquake every time you shot that stupid fucking thing. Because, the ECG, which basically outclasses the AR at both its own game and everything else within most degrees of reasonability, is nowhere near as deserved as recoil as the AR is. Hell, we're actually going to give it absolutely fucking none in order to completely anal blast the AR even more. In fact, we're going to be the same people who thought it was a good idea to keep these saws spread and recoil to a minimum for the first 8 shots in Halo 4, so you could turn the thing into a cross-map laser if you had 2 brain cells to rub together to figure it out. Hey, this paint thinner smells so fucking good, dude. I can feel my ancestors calling to me for my fucking... And so, how do we learn from that mistake? Well, seeing as the MA5E's spread scales linearly with how much you fire it, once you get to the ranges in which the reticle spreads past its target during sustained fire, you'll burst in order to keep dealing consistent damage. When you mix the linear spread into the equation, it results in consistent burst performance that can extend the AR's effective range right up to, and even beyond, its theoretical range limits. Unlike Halo 5. This means that if you master the circumstances in which to burst, and how much to burst dependent upon the range, you can turn this thing into a novice killing machine, and a tool for ample competitive play. And thus, we come to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching. Be sure to comment your thoughts and subscribe if you want more, and I'll at least hope to see you in the next one, where we cover the other base weapons of this theoretical Halo game. I'll be sure to see you there, as that is where it starts to become very, very juicy indeed.